Boy, I tell you what. I get ready to start the show. I look over to the live chat in Rumble, and one of the wingnuts, TBA, says, "Are we on time today?" Yes, sir. It is 10:30 a.m. on Saturday morning, and the wizard has arrived precisely when he means to. Thank you very much. I'm just kidding. I love you. Hi, how are you doing out there in internet land? My name is Brian Trippett. I am the Front Porch Conservative, and this is Front Porch Brunch, a nice, lively little informal gathering that we have on the weekends when we get together and talk about some things in the news. Some serious, some silly, some wherever in between. But we do all that on Rumble, we do all that on Twitter, and we do that on that quaint little alternative social media platform known as YouTube. So, if you haven't done it yet, go ahead and send out a link, hit the thumbs up, share your friends, do all that thing you do that you do so well on behalf of this channel. And we love you and we thank you for it. And you guys are absolutely awesome for it. And again, let's have some fun this morning. Nice, light, casual, just hanging out, having some fun, talking about some stuff. Looking forward to getting around to seeing what you guys have got to say about everything. Again, my name is Brian Trippett. I am the Front Porch Conservative, and this is Front Porch Brunch. Our little gathering where we talk about everything going on out there and give our views on it and see if we can scratch our heads and figure out how to make sense out of it. So pour yourself a cup of coffee or a cup of tea, or maybe it's just that hour of the morning you're ready for the first mimosa. Or maybe you're tailgating out there somewhere in America. There's a lot of good college football out there today. And I was right, by the way. Alabama is playing Wisconsin, so that's going to be a heck of a game kicking off at noon. Anyway, we're on Rumble, we are on Twitter, we're on YouTube. Thank you guys so much for being here with us. Let's start having some fun. Let's see who all's in the house so far. TBA says, we are all cats now. Well, yeah, you ain't wrong about that. WWG1 says, don't eat me. Zippy says, I passed out in the middle of the day. I got up at 3 a.m. I have now become a cat. Just stay out of Springfield. That's all I'm saying. Okay. Oh gosh, who's over on the Rumble side? Let's see who. Not Rumble, but YouTube. Good morning, Miss Gypsy. Yes, 10:30 on the dot. Thank you, TBA. I'm just kidding. I love you. I'm just giving you grief. Good morning, my love. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Elliot, the bartender's here. The bartender is in the house. Drink's gonna get served up shortly. Ms. Z Highness. Good morning, my love. Loves to you. Oh, goodness. Don't cackle. I have no intentions of cackling. Madam, I may do many things when I speak. I may have tone. I may have pitch. I may laugh. I may snicker. I may chortle, but I never cackle. That I leave to Kamala and her ilk. And oh, her ilk. Ugh. Anyway, glad to have you guys here this morning for a very chill session of Front Porch Brunch. And I have got an announcement that I finally got confirmation of everything yesterday. And I am just tickled to death to announce this to you guys. One of my favorite people in the whole of social media is coming on the channel next week, 6 p.m. Eastern. And you guys may be familiar with her, but if you're not, let me do some introductions. That Tug Life is coming on the channel this Thursday night, 6 p.m. Eastern. Now, if you don't know anything about tugs, let me let you in on some things. She is, like I said, one of my absolutely favorite people in the whole of social media. She and her broadcasting partner, X-Ray Girl, host a channel called Poor Choices. And they dish on all kinds of different things, pop culture, everything. And so this, if you're coming to this expecting that we're going to have a political conversation, no, we are not. I mean, if she wants to talk politics, that's fine. I don't care. Me, I want to talk about her journey in social media, where she's at, not just with social media, but where she's at. Because Tugs is an absolutely fascinating lady. She really is, uh, and just an absolute doll. And I'm not just saying this because she's coming on here. I have felt this about her for years. Tugs is an absolute just doll baby of a human being. Has one of the best personalities ever, and just genuinely sweet. She really is. I mean, I wish nothing but good for her, because that's what she deserves, because she's just that kind of a person. And I have the pleasure of having a conversation with her this coming Thursday night, 6 p.m. Eastern. It'll be on all the usual places. Rumble, Twitter, YouTube, and yeah, we're just looking forward to it. Just looking forward to it. Like I say, this lady can talk about video games and pop culture and amusement parks. And I mean, I know I'm giving away a little too much here before we do the interview, but let me tell you something. This is going to be a load of fun. And I really encourage your friends, let them know that we're going to be doing this interview this coming Thursday night, 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 o'clock Central, her time out there. And this is just going to be a load of fun. So put it on your calendars. Okay. We finally got this thing nailed down. And like I say, cannot wait to have Tugs on here for a conversation. So, all right, let us get to some other things that are going on. We do not have a lot in the way of the merry meme section this morning, but we do have a few of them, which are downright thoughtful and funny all at the same time. It is the fall of the year. It is now September. We're about, it's hard to believe, we're almost in the middle of September. Tomorrow is going to be the middle of the month. That is crazy. Time is flying by. We're soon going to be coming up on one of the most important dates in the year, beyond the election, beyond everything else, and that is Veterans Day. And I found something this morning that was posted on Twitter, and it's a reminder to everybody. And as we get closer to Veterans Day, just remember the following. That old man shuffling around town with the Vietnam veteran hat on was at one time more badass than you or I will ever be. And don't get me wrong, I respect all of our veterans, but every time I see something like this, it is a reminder. Yeah, those guys paid a price that I don't even want to begin to think about. And not just Vietnam veterans either. Korean veterans, World War II veterans, veterans of the Gulf Wars, Afghanistan. Yeah, so just remember, especially if you, and I'm not saying this audience would never do it. You guys are too mature, cool, and smart for that. But if you've got some friend in your life that's like, hey, military guy, but jughead. No. That dude's probably got more shrapnel in his body than that punk kid's got in his teeth. So, just saying. Well, now, TBA, you are right. Veterans Day is, strictly speaking, Armistice Day. But we try to take a moment to remember all of our veterans out there. Hang on a second. Apparently, I forgot to... There we go. There, we got the music turned off. Kept hearing faintly in the background. So there's that for your considerations. What else have we got? Oh, by the way. I've always said that 2004 has got to be one of the absolutely strangest years I think I've ever seen, right? Well, since we're now in discussions of, dogs and cats and everything else, did you know that there have been sightings of cartoon characters out there? That's right, ladies and gentlemen. And the thing I think that is most shocking, did I say 2004? Okay, yeah, I'm Jay. That woman nearly did me in last night. That daggone Courtney. Jeez, I was up way too late. Never mind. Let's just leave it at that. I meant 2024. Thank you very much. Thank you, Ruben. Yeah, I probably am in a different timeline. Anyway, TBA says he hasn't had enough mimosas yet. I haven't even had a mimosa yet. Thank you very much. Anyway, but yes, there have been sightings of cartoon characters, and I don't mean just at amusement parks either. And the funny part about it is the one cartoon character that has been seen a lot around America these days is somebody who apparently is making some kind of crazy comeback. Elmer Fudd. There have been Elmer Fudd sightings all over America. And we've even got somebody managed to snap a picture of this. So, there he is, folks. Elmer Fudd for 2024. He's kind of updated his outfit from those days of the Warner Brother cartoons, but he's been seen around America a lot these days, an awful lot. So, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, look, stranger things have happened. TBA is like, oh my God, he does look like Elmer Fudd. Exactly. Hang on. Now I got choked. WWG1 says, we're hunting Elmas. Yeah, really. He's hunting wabbits. He might be hunting cats. I'm just saying. Yeah, I know. Isn't it awful? He's like, I love you guys. I absolutely love you guys. You mean a figget? I'll tell you what. Oh my word. Yeah, I saw that one. I was like, oh yeah, we got to put that one in there. We absolutely have got to put that one in there. That's just too funny. Now, this one is not necessarily a meme, but it is kind of cute. And Zippy over on Rumble with a Rumble rant. Thank you very much, sir. We are hunting. Oh my God! I'll have to read it, but we are hunting bonus holes. I don't know where you're going with that, but thank you very much. Boy, this crowd I attract, I tell you, they're just crazy. Now, this one's not necessarily a meme, but I thought this one was cute. Okay. The 9/11 memorial up in New York City the other day. And this is not necessarily, when I say it's cute, that's not what I'm talking about. Not the ceremony itself. But somebody caught a glimpse of Donald Trump, and you got to see a little bit of his playful side. Now, you wouldn't think, and let me also back this up a second. He was not trying to be disrespectful of the moment or the ceremony, okay? But it was before everything got started in earnest, and everybody's kind of milling around, doing whatever. And somebody clipped this. I will not play it with sound because somebody attached some music to it, and I'm trying to keep YouTube off my back. And this is just kind of cute. So let me enlarge this a little bit more because normally at 150, I'm pretty good. Here we go. Nah, that's getting better. I'll take it back to where it needs to be. But guys, it's 11 seconds, and it's really just kind of cute. But check this out. And Trump's like, I'm looking at you. Yeah, that's right. You. Yeah, I'm checking you out. That's just, I'm sorry. That's just cute. Okay. I mean, how do you not like this guy? I know liberals out there just hate the man's guts, but I mean, seriously, how do you not like the guy? It's like, he knows the camera's on him. He kind of looks over like, I'm looking at you. It's just kind of one of those really cute moments. Zippy with another Rumble rant says, remember, I'm going to change the word on that. Remember, woohoos are now endangered in more ways than one. And ladies, he's referring to certain lady parts. We'll just leave it at that. Zippy, thank you for the Rumble rant. Thank you very much. Jeez, man, you're already on a roll this morning. Whew, my Lord. My Lord. Hang on a minute. Somebody sent me a message. Ruben just sent me something. Oh yeah. Okay. Well, I'll tell you what. Ruben, we're gonna put this, since we're sort of on this frame of mind anyway. And hang on a minute, because I've got it copied, but this is just too good not to share. In that same vein of the video that we just saw, you know how Joe Biden the other day accepted the MAGA hat? Well, somebody got really smart and put another kind of video to it. Check this out. Looking at you, Joe. I'm looking at you. Looking at you. There you go, Joe. Nice job. Thank you, Ruben. That was great. That was absolutely great. That was great. Thank you, sir. Much appreciated. Much appreciated. Oh, what else have we got in the way of TBA's like, all right, somebody needs to check on Zippy. He may have hit his allotted amount of mimosas this morning. Look, Wingnuts, y'all take care of him over there, okay? Yeah, exactly. Now Ruben, thank you for that, brother. Thank you. Yeah, the edits are great. I tell you what, and I say this with all due respect to people who can do that kind of thing, and meme makers and all those really clever people. Man, I envy y'all. I really do. I mean, I'm serious. I'm an old. I mean, I call myself an old fart, which to a certain extent I am. But well, hang on, dear. I'll give it to you. So you're wanting that link? Okay, hang on. Yeah, as a matter of fact, I've got it right here. I'll drop it on both sides. Give me 1 second. Okay. And here it is on the Rumble side. No, what I was getting ready to say was, he's here all week, folks. Tip the bartender and try the veal. No, for these folks that have the ability to make memes, and do all this very clever stuff that they do, I'm seriously, I am blown away with the talent and the creativity that they've got. It's just extraordinary. Matter of fact, I've got an invitation out to somebody, and I don't know if he'll ever see it or come on here. I would love to get him. I mean, I'll tell you who it is. I'd love to get Brendan Dilley on here, of Dilley's meme team. Oh, that would be a fascinating conversation, I think. I sent him an invite. I don't know if he'll ever see it or whatever, but I'd love to get him on here. That would just be a heck of a conversation. But no, in all seriousness, these folks that can create these memes and these TikTok videos and everything else that they do, I am in awe of the talent that they've got. They're amazing. They really are. Just nothing short of extraordinary. All right, let's move along. Now, in the vein that we saw a little bit of the playfulness of Donald Trump, there was a video posted, and again, this is compliments of Benny Johnson. And I'll tell you this up front. I'm not sure if this was done in the last 4 years or if it was done when Trump was in the White House. A lot of people make much of Donald Trump's very gruff, bellicose sort of way of doing things. Okay, and all right, sometimes he asks for it. But there are moments that Donald Trump will do things and no one will ever hear about him. Okay, you'll never know until after it's done. Sometimes you don't know until years after it's done. And Benny found a video of a young man. When I say young, he's a kid. He's like 8 years old. And it was on his birthday. And I don't know if you guys have ever seen this, but this has got to be one of the most touching things I think I've ever watched. So this young man, his name is Liam. He has a rare brain and hormone disorder, okay? And he gets a very surprising birthday wish on his 8th birthday. And if you've never seen this, I'm just going to warn you right now, you better keep some tissues nearby, because if you don't cry after this, I just don't know what to say. With that, watch this.
Here, please. Can you read it out loud? Sure.
So he hands it to his mom.
It says, "Dear Liam, happy 8th birthday. Mrs. Trump and I hope you enjoy this special occasion surrounded by the love of your family and friends. We are so encouraged by the strength and determination you have shown throughout your young life, and send our love and best wishes to you as you continue to fight. Remember, you are never alone, and we are keeping you in our thoughts and prayers for continued care and good health. May God bless you and your family. Stay strong. Sincerely." Can you tell me who signed that? He knew it was your birthday coming up? What do you say to him?
I love you.
What else do you say?
Thank you.
Look, I like to think that I'm a fairly hard bit sort of fella, but it's stuff like that man, I don't know how Trump even found out about this young man. And I have no idea. But apparently word got to him, and just a simple letter, and just blew this poor kid away. So, geez, I'm sitting here starting to cry. And for all you lefties out there that hate that man's guts, I really wish you would see stuff like that and at least be willing to open your eyes, because he's not the evil monster that you make him out to be. I mean, really. I saw that and I was like, oh crap, we got to show that one. That's just too precious. Too precious indeed. Okay, all right. Give me a second here, folks. Okay, I'm good now. Now your host is starting to lose it. Jeez. Oh, worse. Mercy. Okay, some closing thoughts as we leave this week and now enter next week. I guess in part about the debate. John Cass, the legendary reporter from the former reporter from the Chicago columnist from the Chicago Tribune, wrote a column toward the end of the week about the Harris-Trump debate. And I want to put this up here for some closing thoughts. And John has a very unique way of saying things, and he threw one of his journalistic javelins, as I call it. And I want to read part of his column that he posted on johncastnews.com on the 13th of September. And I want to go toward the end of this thing and go from there. It's a good column, which, by the way, as always, in the effort to share with you guys things that I find, I'm posting this on Rumble and on YouTube in the chat. So if you guys want to take a look at this at your leisure, feel free. But I want to go down to near the end of this thing. And I'm going to start right about here. From John Cass. Trump largely failed to show his vision for making the country a better place. And for that, he has no one to blame but himself, which, by the way, I agree with John on that point. Trump seemed like he was on defense quite a bit. And by the same token, didn't necessarily lay out a lot of the policy proposals he wanted to do. But moving on. The debate was often a 3-on-1 fight, proving Democrats want to win and don't care what the left-wing media is if it's torn apart as collateral damage. But by the end of it, despite all the fawning from leftist media, the polls really haven't moved much. Trump announced he wouldn't do a third debate. He is wise not to roll in that rigged pigsty massaged by the Democrat media complex, and growing calls continue for an investigation into ABC debate by independent journalist John Solomon and others. Who will investigate ABC? Clinton donor Zero George Stephanopoulos? And the question for voters remained as it has always been, the same question that the ABC Mouseketeers asked Harris early on, the question that Trump didn't do much with. Are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? Kamala Harris dodged that one, but please do me and your country a favor and repeat it. Are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? The great Ronald Reagan asked that of voters years ago. No, Mr. President, we are not better off, and America is not better off. This is the only question Americans will ask themselves as they cast their ballots. It's the one question Democrats don't want asked in public. Democrats are desperate to avoid it because it was Harris who unleashed inflation by her tie-breaking Senate vote spending trillions of newly printed federal dollars. Trump should have crushed that one over the fence. If I was an editor, I'd assign reporters to the supermarkets to ask shoppers about being forced to pay for those too expensive items back on the shelf, the luxuries like eggs and school supplies and milk. According to some, grocery prices are not climbing as much as they did in the last 2 years, but many Americans are still frustrated by what it costs to put food on the table. Some people have apparently hit their limit. People don't vote for political theory. They don't vote about a politician's cackling laugh. They don't vote on who had an unfair advantage in the debate or how unfair the media has become or in what flavor of ice cream the politician loves. After Reagan, it was a cranky old moderate Democrat who said, "It's the economy, stupid." People think about their nation, but they vote pocketbook issues, what's best for themselves and their families. They don't think of silver tongues or who won a debate. They don't think of a Democrat candidate's feelings or Republicans' feelings. They think first about themselves and their families and the rising cost of gas for the car, the high cost of meat and eggs and vegetables, the rising cost of insurance, electric power. These aren't luxuries. These aren't things people need to, these are things people need to stay alive. Are you better off? If you're not better off, you know what to do. Vote. Don't whine or complain. Vote. And that from the legendary John Cass. Blocked Ad Runner. Good morning, sir. Good morning. Glad to have you here with us. Let's see who else may have dropped in on the Rumble side. Good to have you here, sir. All right. So yeah, that's a good column by John. I really recommend it to you. And like I say, check him out, support his work, give him a follow on Twitter. Absolutely check out his columns every time they drop. Good stuff all the way around from one of the best writers in the Midwest. I love John's work. Doc McCutcheon sent me something talking about the debate. And this is really good. It's a link to a fellow on Twitter named Clandestine. And I think these thoughts are pretty accurate. We are witnessing a fascinating post-debate shift. The ABC fact checkers were not true, which has inversely drawn more attention to these topics, aka the Streisand effect, Springfield, late-term abortion, gun confiscation. Public discourse on Twitter has thoroughly debunked ABC's fact checks and brought video receipts for every single Kamala lie. As time goes on, public perception is falling more in favor of Trump, thanks to the reach and influence of citizen journalists on Twitter and other social media, circulating the video evidence that disproves Kamala ABC's lies from the debate. This not only proves Kamala and ABC lie, but is further confirmation that the mainstream media are in bed with the DNC, and once again proves Trump was right about the media being corrupt and out to get him. The more media attack him with such blatant bias, the more it validates Trump's entire narrative and discredits the Dems for weaponizing the media against Trump. They just proved a deep state exists while the entire world was watching. Initially, I did not think the debate would have much impact on public perception or change the calculus in November, but as I observed the public's response on social media, I think this performance from ABC woke more people up than I projected. Normally, the moderators are more subtle with their bias, but ABC made it so obvious that some of the remaining normies are starting to notice glitches in the matrix. And that is a really good analysis. There is one caveat that I'll add to it. And I think it's an important question, not just in general, but for each of us individually. Okay. And it's this. Okay, we know the media is biased, and we know they're in the tank for the Democrats. Great. Now, what are we going to do about it? And when I say what are we going to do about it, I mean you and me, not just as consumers of the news, but now we can be producers of the news. I mean, and I've mentioned this on the channel now on occasions, and I'll bring it up again. I think now is one of the most remarkable times in history when technology is allowing folks like me and you and others to be citizen journalists. I mean, I guess this kind of goes to a really simple question, but it's one that's really kind of profound. What is a journalist? Seriously, what is a journalist? Now, if you ask that question to people in Washington, D.C. or New York City or, Boston or Philadelphia or somewhere else, oh, well, it's a person that works in a newspaper or a TV station. Really? Well, why can't the guy on the street corner be a journalist? Why can't the construction worker be a journalist? Why can't the high school kid be a journalist? Why does one have to have a credentialed degree from some university somewhere saying you have a BS in journalism? And there's a lot of truth to saying you have BS in journalism. I've said I go back to a conversation that I had with another social content creator, Culture Casino, and he made the statement that folks like himself and others, regardless of what particular aspect of culture or the news or whatever they focus on, they are an existential threat to mainstream media, be it in journalism or in Hollywood. Why? Because they can take a camera like the one I'm looking into or the microphone that I'm speaking into, and they can produce content at a fraction of the cost of Hollywood or one of the major networks, and that is eating mainstream media alive. They can't stand it. Tyler Hansen, the young man who is associated with Tenet Media, and I haven't got any of the clips pulled up, but it's just the immediate example that comes to my mind. Tyler Hansen has been doing interviews in Springfield, Ohio. Matter of fact, he posted something on his Twitter page where he was able to do some work with homeless folks in Springfield, trying to provide for some basic needs for them. Okay. And he wasn't doing it for praise. He wasn't trying to do it to toot his own horn. He just wanted to show what was going on. That's a kid with a camera and a microphone. And he's out there chronicling what's going on in a city in America. WWG1 says, journalist, noun, 1690s, one whose work is to write or edit public journals or newspapers, from French journaliste, journalière, occasionally. One who keeps a journal is journalistic. The verb journalize usually is restricted to make use of a journal or a book. Yeah, you're basically chronicling what's going on. You're writing it down. That's a journalist. Well, in today's world, you're a journalist if you can chronicle it with a video camera. Okay, well, fine, then we can all be journalists. Yeah. Hang on one second. Yeah, is being. I absolutely agree. And this is true, too. 50 years ago, it was common for people to rise up in the ranks of a newspaper. Journalism was seen as blue-collar work, and academics got a hold of it. Yeah, exactly. Why do I respect guys like John Cass? I'll tell you why. Aside from the fact that John's a fabulous writer, and again, I'm not just saying that to blow smoke at the guy. I'm serious. John's a great writer. he will even he would tell you, and he kind of alluded to it in our interview. He doesn't have all the lettering and the credentials that some people have. But John can look at a situation just straight on and say, well, that guy's full of crap, and here's why. And he'll tell you. Why? Because he grew up the son of a Greek grocer. He respects his customers, the consumer of the news. And I agree with this completely. I want to put this back up here. I agree with this completely. If you go back, and I haven't got them pulled up right now, but I ought to do it sometime. If you go back and look at the biographies of well-respected journalists, okay, of the 20th century, Ruben and I, will occasionally drop the comment that we are the Hunt Brinkley of the 21st century. Well, if you go back and read their academic journey, they didn't have nearly the credentialing that these guys do now. I graduated with a master's in journalism from Columbia. Oh, I graduated with... Who cares? Can you look at a situation and tell me what's going on? Because that's really all a reporter is. Show me the facts. Tell me what happened. But yeah, the academics got a hold of journalism, and now it's seen as an elitist job. Yeah, and this is another reason why YouTube had to do a purge back in 2020. Too many people telling the truth. Too many citizens out there telling people what the heck was actually going on. Blocked Ad Runner says, after all these years of their crap, I'm not sure they know that. I don't think they do either. I believe they, pardon my language, I think they bought their own bullshit. I really do. I think these folks are so full of themselves, they have no idea. They will make comments, and I say they, I should be more specific, but in general, there are people in the journalism industry. You watch MSNBC or CNN or ABC or name the network, okay? They are so arrogantly out of touch, they have no concept of what's going on in the country. One of the reasons why I love reading Selena Zito, which, by the way, we got one of her columns coming up here shortly. You know why I love reading Selena Zito? The great reporter from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. She writes for the New York Post, the Washington Examiner, other places. You know why I love reading her stuff so much? She actually gets out and travels the country. I would give a lot to know how many miles Selena Zito puts on her car in the course of a year. I really would. It's got to be thousands. Just driving all over Pennsylvania and Ohio, West Virginia, Indiana, Missouri, Kentucky, Tennessee. That woman is just all over the place talking to people. Matter of fact, the column we've got is just evidence of just why it is that she's such a good journalist. She's not sitting in a cubicle somewhere in New York City or some cushy office up on the 50th floor or whatever. She's actually out on the streets talking to people. And small time, this is absolutely true. Y'all are dropping truth bombs this morning. Many mainstream journalists can't separate their emotions from the facts. This is a recurring problem. Yeah, exactly. They can't keep their bias out of it. Look, am I going to sit here and tell you that I am unbiased? Heck no. I try to be as neutral as I can whenever I'm looking at something, but I freely admit my bias comes through. But that's the difference. I'm willing to admit it. These folks in supposed mainstream journalism will never tell you. They'll never admit that their own biases and their own likes and dislikes are coming through in their reporting. They will never tell you that. They will try to tell you, or they will try to give you the impression, maybe that's the better way of saying it, they will try to give you the impression that theirs is objective observation of the facts. And they'll never let you know, hey, I've got a certain bias. I don't like this guy, yada, yada, or I worked for this guy, or I gave money to this guy, or whatever. Yeah, and this is true too. This is absolutely true. I don't hate their guts. I don't agree with them. WWG1 says, you're not a journalist, Brian. You are an opinion columnist, so to speak. Well, I think that's fair. I think that's fair. That's very fair. I think that's a very fair statement to say about me. And thank you very much for that, by the way. Blocked Ad Runner says, sociopaths believe their lies. I think most politicians are sociopaths too. Tragically, you're probably right. Probably right. Oh, goodness. So there's that. What else have we got? Anything else? Oh, by the way. One last thing on the debates, then we'll get into some stuff we're going to talk about this morning. Did you guys happen to catch that line in the debate when Kamala was talking about the American military? Ooh, buddy, let me tell you, she kind of stepped in it. And if you don't believe me, watch this for yourself.
And as of today, there is not one member of the United States military who is in active duty in a combat zone in any war zone around the world. The first time this century. What? But let's understand.
So where the fuck are we right now?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, members of the military are watching this debate and they're like, well, where the fuck are we right now? It's like, really? God, that's great. That is great. Okay. All right. Let me check this out. Hang on a second. Hang on. Okay. Okay, cool. Just making sure. Yeah, if somebody tells me they've sent me something, I'll do. Yeah, okay, we're on the same wavelength. BS is corporate journalism. Yeah, you ain't that right. You got that right. Okay. All right. Some campaign news and notes. Yeah, 5. Yeah. I tell you what. It, to me right now, and I don't know what it's going to mean come November, okay? Because how people react on social media is not necessarily determinative of what they're going to do at the ballot box. I get it. But man, there is something fascinating going on right now. And the best way I know how to describe it, at least off the top of my head, is the disconnect between what the media is trying to portray to people and what they're actually, I mean, it's just, the disconnect is extraordinary. And it just made me think of something else. And I'm not saying this guy's perfect, but thank God Elon Musk owns Twitter, especially right now. Thank God Elon Musk owns Twitter. He breaks a thing to find out what it has left the path of wisdom. Tolkien. Those become too absorbed in abstract knowledge, power, lose sight of the people who they should be served. Very true. Very true. The Discord leaks last year confirmed we have armed forces unofficially in Ukraine. I don't know why the government, well, I know exactly why the government won't be honest about it. If they start admitting that, the American people start souring on the idea to keep sending money over to Ukraine. At least that's my opinion anyway. Yeah, true. Very true. All right. From the campaign trail, Kamala Harris is in Charlotte, North Carolina yesterday at a rally, and she said the following.
Former Vice President Dick Cheney and Congresswoman Liz Cheney are supporting me as well. Because, as they said, we have a duty as citizens to put country above partisanship and defend our Constitution.
Okay, folks, I have a question. Just how tone deaf is official Washington? What do you mean, front porch? Well, here's kind of what I'm getting at. Does Kamala Harris and her advisors not realize how loathed and despised the Cheneys are inside the Republican Party anymore? I mean, folks, think back 20 years ago, it wasn't that long. The Democrats were trying to get Dick Cheney tried as a war criminal at the International Court at The Hague. 20 years later, in the name of trying to preserve the power of the Uniparty, Democrats are out there praising Dick Cheney and his daughter Liz Cheney as, the virtuous among us, willing to support the Democrats to make sure that the Uniparty stays in power. I'm sorry. How thick-headed do you have to be that you think as a Democrat running for president that looking at the Republican base, which is now MAGA and America and MAHA, make America healthy again, and America first, you think looking at them touting the fact, or not, take MAGA and the Republican base and everything else out of it. Just talk about independent voters. You think touting to independent voters the idea that you are supported by Dick Cheney and Liz Cheney is a real good idea? I'm pretty sure independent voters have had loved ones who are in the military. I'm pretty sure those members of the military probably served in the second Iraq War and in Afghanistan and every other place around the world, that the Cheneys supported the idea of American interventionism. So you really, Kamala, you really think it's a good idea to be telling everybody that the Cheneys are out there supporting you? Or the other line that cracks me up, 200 members of the administrations of George Herbert Walker Bush and George W. Bush are supporting me. Oh, great. Let's reference back to the days of Poppy Bush, why don't we? Oh, God. This woman is... Oh, we got some stuff about a little later on, more Kamala stuff, but my God. This is just... So she's in Charlotte. By the way, one more thing on Charlotte. Folks, this woman has no support. None. From the Gateway Pundit. Kamala Harris caught bussing in thousands of people for her rally in Charlotte, North Carolina. By Christina Lela, we have the following. Kamala Harris arrived in Charlotte, North Carolina on Thursday for a campaign rally at the Bojangles Coliseum. Okay, fine. She had to bus in supporters again. Thousands were bussed in for Kamala's rally on Thursday. And Kamala Harris campaign got caught bussing in thousands. They cheated everything, even crowd sizes. Last Wednesday, Kamala held a rally in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. With 2 months to the election, she had to bus in supporters. And that was from Massachusetts. We've seen the videos on that. Just unbelievable, this lady. Had to bus him in for the... Yeah, I mean, just there is no... Let's put it this way. There might be support out there for her, but it ain't nearly what she's trying to portray it to be. Just absolutely remarkable. Yeah, and going back to that comment about the Cheneys, imagine bragging that the Warhawks support you. Yeah, she's completely tone deaf. Yeah. Absolutely true. Absolutely true. Yep. You all are not wrong about this. I mean, it's incredible to me. I mean, think about the level of desperation that you are willing to sink to as a member of the Uniparty. And remember, the Uniparty is defined as establishment Democrats and establishment Republicans. Okay? Just basically think the swamp in D.C. Okay? Just think of how desperate you have to be as a member of the Uniparty that you're willing to try to tout to the American people that as a Democrat, someone you supposedly hated 20 years ago is now in support of your campaign, and that's somehow a justification for why you should be elected president. Unbelievable. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So, oh, yeah, this is insanity. That's a good word for it, brother. That's a completely good word for it. That's a really good comparison. That is a really good comparison. Really good indeed. Okay. A little more Kamala. She's in Pennsylvania. I guess this was just the past couple of days. And she gets asked a question off the cuff impromptu where she's out and about somewhere about how things are going. This answer is not exactly inspiring confidence.
How are you feeling about Pennsylvania?
I am feeling very good about Pennsylvania because there are a lot of people in Pennsylvania who deserve to be seen and heard. That's why I'm here in Johnstown, and I will be continuing to travel around the state.
Guys, this woman does not know how to communicate. I'm serious. She can talk, but she cannot communicate. She really can't. I've never seen anything quite like this woman. Now, if you're wondering what I mean, she can talk, but she can't communicate. She can say a lot of things. She cannot express a solid thought. She doesn't do it with confidence. She doesn't do it with a projection of strength. I wasn't going to say anything, but I don't know about high, but yeah. Hang on one second, folks. I need a quick host break for 1 second to take care of something. I'm still here. Be right with you. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. Just trying not to gross out my audience. Sinuses are giving me a little bit of trouble. All right. Yeah, I'd say the liquor doesn't help either. Yeah, I mean, and we're going to, and Z Highness, we're going to get to some of this. I played last night some clips from that interview she did with that TV station out of Philadelphia. Oh God, I mean, I'll set this up. I'll just preview it right now. I mean, I'm not going to play the whole interview, but we're going to read excerpts from it. The interview was 11 minutes long. Okay, all right, fine. The reporter basically asked 3, maybe 4 questions. Okay. She spoke for the overwhelming majority of the time. Okay, you kind of expect that. She said nothing. What do you mean she said nothing? She spoke words. Yeah, she didn't say anything. She didn't say anything new. She didn't really answer the questions. She didn't talk to the guy. Yeah, I mean, I hate to say it, but it's true. Now, I know people are going to watch this live stream and they're going to say, oh, yeah, it's real easy for you to say that. You're supporting Trump. You don't like her anyway. Hey, hold up. That has nothing to do with it. Okay? That has not a thing in the world to do with it. She just, I think I know part of the problem. Not all of it, but part of it. she feels like she has to justify the answer. It's almost like when someone qualifies something before they actually tell you what they really think. I guess I don't know if it's she feels like, I wasn't campaigning in the primaries, da 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 da. I've got to introduce myself to everybody. No, you don't really need to introduce yourself to everybody. You just need to answer the question. And this is a good way to describe it. It really is. Yeah. Yeah, it's a good way to describe it. Yeah. Just I've said it before, and you guys are picking up on the same thing that I am. This woman is remarkably insecure. She cannot talk to people. She really can't. And I think a lot of it is personal insecurity. And if what is rumored to be true is true about her mixing, a little of this and a little popping of those things, that's not a good combination, especially if you're, look, if she's doing that stuff heavily, which apparently it's rumored. I'm not saying I know it's to be true. It's rumored. If she's doing that stuff heavily, let's lay aside the question of what she does if, God forbid, she gets elected. Let's just talk about her on the campaign trail. Oh, God. Yeah, I didn't agree with Bernie, but Bernie could communicate what he wanted to do. I didn't agree with Hillary one bit, but she could communicate what she wants to do. This woman cannot communicate. She can't. Who was it? Was it, yeah, and this is a great question. Imagine what happens if she's sitting with Xi Jinping, and she starts going like that. Like I say, we played a couple of the clips last night, but oh my God, she's getting roasted for it. Joe over on Rumble says, if Trump exudes strength and confidence, Kamala is the exact opposite. Bingo. Bingo. Joe also says, I used to have a family member who was hooked on pills, and that's what Kamala reminds me of. Yeah. I really hope that is not the case. I hope the rumors are not true. And I'm not trying to traffic in. I'm just saying this has been said of the woman. Okay. I'm not saying anything that anybody doesn't already heard about. Okay. You may be right. You may be right, my friend. So she's not really feeling real good about what's going on in Pennsylvania. Well, there might be a good reason why. I said a minute ago, I got a column from Selena Zito, and we're going to read this one because this is pretty good. And it also speaks to the dynamics, I think, of what's going on out there in America. And this is again, if you're not reading Selena Zito, guys, I cannot recommend her work enough to you. She is just that good. A lot like John Cass, very commonsensical, and she travels quite a bit. And those travels really inform her writing. And with that, we go to this one. Headline: Newly registered Democrat voter motivated by economic circumstances. Does that sound familiar to anybody? From Oakmont, Pennsylvania, we have the following. 4 years ago, Doug Homan, we'll just go with Homan. Douglas Homan turned old enough to vote. He turned 18 years old in May, yet for a number of reasons, he never got around to voting for either President Joe Biden or former President Donald Trump. The year 2020, Homan explained, was not the best for him. Quote, it was my senior year when COVID hit, and I missed out on so many things I was looking forward to. My senior prom on the Gateway Clipper, the senior walk parents do with their with their, I think she meant students. The senior walk students do with their parents at Penn High School, football field at graduation, and just overall sense of belonging, Homan said. The now 22-year-old from Penn Hills, Pennsylvania, works at Oakmont Bakery doing janitorial work as well as helping customers who need extra hands carrying their cakes back to the car, especially if the cakes are oversized as mine was. The traffic was so bad in Oakmont that I had to park several blocks away from the bakery. I did not fully calculate that this is Selena Zito, would have to do the walk back while carrying a full sheet cake for my grandchildren's combined birthdays on the next day. Holman stepped up to carry it for me. We started talking during the 4-block walk back to the car, and the topic of the election came up. I asked Holman if he was registered to vote. To be honest, he looked younger than 22 years old. His answer was one I've heard from many people who are not registered. No, ma'am, I forgot. Now it's too late, he said sheepishly. Actually, it wasn't. A new voter registration in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania is accepted until October 21st. Holman smiled and promised to do just that. 3 days later, I called the bakery to see if Holman would be willing to discuss whether he had done just that, and another day later, he called me and proudly said he had. Quote, I regret not voting in 2020. I now understand that every vote does count, and President Biden won our state by several thousand or other young people like me who just didn't think their vote counted. If anything, we count the most, and we have the most responsibility to show up because we are the future of the country. After high school, Holman said he went to work full-time at a local landscaper where he enjoyed the outside work before coming to Oakmont Bakery last year. Quote, that is a true old-school family business where the owners, Mark and Tony, know everyone's name who works for them and pretty much everything about them, he said of the Serraro family, who runs the massive Oakmont Bakery where people drive for miles around. Mark Serraro entered the bakery business unconventionally. He worked in construction with his father, mainly in sewers, and found his passion, similar to Holman, working as a janitor at a much smaller donut shop. Quote, my father was a contractor, and I ended up doing a lot of concrete work for him, and I hated it. I really didn't like working in sewers, so when I was 13, I started working at a donut shop in Penn Hills. It was called the Donut Shack, as the cleaning guy, Serraro explained. When the Oakmont Bakery was a tiny neighborhood shop, Serraro bought it from the family of the owner, who had died of an unexpected heart attack just 1 week after opening. 30-plus years later, the father of 5 now employs more than 200 people, and during the holidays, he sees 400 dozen dinner rolls walk out the door every hour. Holman, similar to Serraro, doesn't see himself working as a janitor for the rest of his life. Quote, I'm looking to attend the University of Pittsburgh Johnstown campus to study journalism, he said. Holman said the past 4 years had been brutal for his family. I am living with my father. My mom died in 2016. He is retired on a fixed income, and he cannot afford the basic needs. He's struggling living on a fixed income. Well, inflation does not care if your income isn't increasing. It just keeps on increasing, and I think it's important to add that those grocery costs or gas costs have never gone down, Holman said. So, which party did Holman register for? A Republican. Donald Trump will get my vote. So will Dave McCormick. I just wish I had done this 4 years ago. Maybe things would have been different for a lot of people and not just me, Holman said. That is a really good column. As a matter of fact, let me do it right now while it's on my brain. I'm going to drop this in chat on both sides. Let y'all read it at your perusal. There you go. Again, from the legendary Selena Zito. But did you catch what's going on here? Here's a young man. He's like 22 years old. And we think younger voters don't care. No, this kid does. And this kid is living real world experience. He's got an older father. Father's on a fixed income. You know, this kid is working hard. He sees a better life for himself. He's going to go study at a university, journalism. I say he ought to apprentice for Selena Zito. I'd give him all the journalism he needs. But, okay, you got to have the credentials these days. I get it. And, he didn't realize how important his vote would be 4 years ago. He does now. Why do I have a funny feeling? Why do I have a really funny feeling that there's going to be a lot of young people just like that? I'm not saying they're going to all going to vote for Trump. So don't get me wrong here. But why do I have a feeling that if Trump does win, it's going to be in large part because of an increase from young people just like that kid? Again, I don't know what's going to happen in November. I got a suspicion of what I'd like to see happen, but I don't know. But I get the distinct feeling that young guy, he's not going to be alone. He's not going to be alone at all. Oh, yeah, this is absolutely true. Absolutely true. Absolutely true. TBA over on Rumble says, in my opinion, that Washington Examiner article was a cry for help for the Democrats to get their asses in gear to scoop up the younger voters. I don't know that I'd go that far. Selena, I mean, I don't know her politics, but I don't think she's out there trying to help Democrats in any way, shape, or form. You know, yeah, buck the system, vote Republican. Blocked Ad Runner says they remember life under Trump. Exactly. And that's the argument one of them arguments Trump needs to hammer home in the next 50 days. This is what life was like when I was president. This is what life has been like under Kamala. Any questions? The backyard brawl is today? Ooh, I did not realize. I don't know. Okay, are they playing at Pitt or are they playing at WVU? Sorry, folks, we got a football question. I got to answer this one. If they're playing at Mountaineer Field, I'd probably give the edge to WVU. If they're playing at Pitt, maybe Pitt by a field goal. Just say that. Okay. Let's move on to some other stuff. One more quick Kamala thing, and we'll flip it over to Trump. So you guys heard Kamala's newest proposal? No, I'm serious. She's got a new proposal. From justthenews.com, Kamala Harris vows to end college degree requirements for federal jobs. Harris said she understood that a degree does not have to equate to a high skill level, and that people can develop skills that are necessary for certain jobs through other means like specialized programs. Article written by Misty Severe, we've got the following. Democrat presidential nominee Kamala Harris on Friday vowed to drop some of the college degree requirements for jobs in the federal government, saying that a college degree does not necessarily translate to skills. The promise, which was met with applause, occurred during a campaign stop in the swing state of Pennsylvania. Harris has made it a priority to court middle-class and working-class voters. It comes after Pennsylvania eliminated the 4-year degree requirement for most state jobs last year. Harris said she understood that a degree does not equate to high skill level and that people can develop skills that are necessary for certain jobs. Well, all that would be well and good, except there's just one little problem. And if you are wondering what that problem is, it basically goes like this. I take you to the White House in June of 2020 when Donald Trump was still president. And if you're wondering what I'm referring to, take a listen to this.
Today, we're taking that next step, as you mentioned, and signing an executive order that directs federal agencies to hire based on skills and knowledge, not just outdated degree requirements.
What did you say? Hold on, say that again? Say that again. I want to make sure I heard this right. What? Come again with that, Ivanka.
Today, we're taking that next step, as you mentioned, and signing an executive order that directs federal agencies to hire based on skills and knowledge, not just outdated degree requirements. This will allow us to better recognize the talents and competencies of all Americans we hire. You built once the most inclusive economy in this country's history, and you'll build it again. And I'm really excited about your effort to extend this working group and to reform our federal hiring practices as we think about building that inclusive American economy as we transition to greatness. So,
oh my God. Is there anything that this woman is proposing that she hasn't stolen from somebody? I'm sorry, I'm going to go off here, folks, and I apologize. But mother of God, does this woman have an original thought in her head? She stole Donald Trump's idea to expand the child tax credit to $6,000. She's copycatting him on no tax on tips. She stole all of her policy ideas straight off of Joe Biden's website. And now she's taking something from over 4 years ago, the Donald Trump RA signed as an executive order, and trying to pass it off as the new shiny. We've already done this, assuming that Biden didn't come in and undo that among so many other things he got rid of when he got Trump out of office. Why does anyone take this woman seriously? I'm not talking about you guys. Fedora Nation is smart enough to see through her BS. But you Democrats out there, I got to talk to y'all for a minute. Okay? I love you. I really do. I love you. But can you not see that this woman ain't got this, to borrow an expression from my neck of the woods, she ain't got the sense to pour piss out of a boot. Seriously, she's that dumb. Oh, you're just insulting a woman. No, I'm not. I'd say it if it was a man or a woman. She ain't got the sense to pour piss out of a boot. She's terrible. She is absolutely atrocious. She's insecure, brainless, thoughtless, transactional. She will stab you in the back. She will do whatever she's got to do to get ahead. She is worse than a cobra. Oh my God. This woman, I can't with her, as the kids would say these days. I just can't with this woman. Lord. Blocked ad runner says, dumb as a fence post. Yeah. Yeah. WWG1 says she doesn't have a choice. All of the good ideas are not hers. TBA says 50 days, Brian. Gird up your loins. Yep. Oh, you want the link on that one? Hang on. My pleasure. My pleasure. Here's the link from justthenews.com laying out Kamala's proposal. And I just dropped that on YouTube and Rumble. And now let me grab you the link to that event at the White House from June of 2020. And up in Connecticut and everybody else, there y'all go. WWG1 sent me something over on Rumble. Hang on a minute. Now, for those of you who maybe are visiting the Electronic Front Porch for the first time, this is what we do. I got stuff. Y'all got stuff. Y'all bring stuff. We check it out together. I think it's great. I think it is great. Let's see what WWG1's got here. Let's see what this thing is. Give me a minute. Hang on, folks. Siri, show me the symbol for oh my God. Only because it's you, WWG1, and never let it be said. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want an explanation for Kamala, the Chinese have a symbol for it. I am not saying I approve of this. More than likely, I disavow, but This is from WWG1. Take it for what it's worth. I'm not saying, but I'm just saying. WWG1, never let it be said. Never let it be said, I didn't share something that you gave me. There you go. Oh my God, you are just straight awful. My God, you're bad. Whew. This audience, I tell you. I love you guys. Thing is, these are not her lines, her plagiarized. Yeah. Oh, and that interview with that Philadelphia TV station. Oh my God. Good one. Jeez, almighty. Just terrible. Terrible. Okay, let us turn our attentions to Trump. So Trump, for the past couple of days, has been out west. Did a fundraiser out in California, which, by the way, was hosted by some of Gavin Newsom's relatives. That'll crack you up. And he did a press conference Friday out in L.A. Now, I got a couple of clips from it. And this one runs about 2 minutes. We'll play. I mean, I'll interject where I feel I need to. But yeah, this one's pretty good. So do me a favor, folks. Check this out and tell me what you think.
Because we built hundreds of miles of wall, and we had hundreds of miles, I said, after we completed, much more than I said I was going to complete. And it had a huge impact. But after I completed it, we had all of this wall to be put up. It could have been put up in 200 miles, could have been put up in 3 weeks, would have been totally sealed and much larger than I originally said, but it worked so well. We were doing so well. And not only didn't they put it up, they sold much of it for 5 cents on the dollar. Very expensive wall, has wires inside of it for technology. Hardened steel, hardened concrete, and rebar. They wanted all three. I did it as per the Border Patrol. I disagreed with the look. They said, sir, this is the only way. We had to put a anti-climb panel on top. The panel on top is an anti-climb panel. I said, I don't like the way it looks. They say, I know, but it stops people from climbing. I said, all right, we'll do it the way you want. A president has a duty to keep you safe. Kamala will turn America into a poor, violent, third world refugee camp. It already sort of is. We have elections that are a mess, and we have a border that's the worst of any border ever in the world. There's never been a country ever in the world that's allowed 21 million people to come across in a short period of time. And children and the children of American citizens are at the mercy of barbaric criminals. You take a look at what's happening in Colorado. The governor's afraid to even talk about it. The governor is a Democrat. Colorado, I hope you're going to vote for Trump because you're being stampeded by your own politicians. The governor can't talk about it because he can't go against the policies of these lunatics that want all these people to come into our country without.
Okay, I'm going to stop right here. I want to say something. And this is probably, well, it's not necessarily a bad idea, but you got to know how and when to do it. Okay? If I were Donald Trump and his campaign, I'd make a visit to Colorado. I'm serious. I'd do it. I mean, if you really want to highlight what's going on, and maybe not in Aurora directly, but I'd go to Colorado. Take the fight right to them. Do the event somewhere nearby and say, look, I'm here because I want to bring attention to this. These towns are being overrun. And I wouldn't stop there. At some point, I'd go to Springfield, Ohio. All right, and if you don't want to do it in Springfield, Columbus isn't too far. Do it over in Dayton. Dayton's just right, a hop, skip, and a jump from Springfield, Ohio. Do it in Dayton, Ohio. Do it in Columbus. There are places and arenas there. You can make that happen. Do it. Stick it right under the Democrats' nose. Stick it right under Kamala's nose. Make her get a big old whiff of it. I mean, look, I agree with Trump. Jared Polis out in Colorado, the governor's doing nothing about this. Shove it right up his nose. Make him do it. Zippy over on Rumble with a Rumble rant. Thank you, Zippy. Full DMZ zone between the Koreas is what we need at the borders. Well, I don't know about a DMZ zone, but we need something because this is nuts. Absolutely nuts. TBA says Charlotte. All right, now I'm not going to pronounce this right. Charleroi, Pennsylvania is a good place for a Trump rally too. Yeah, blocked ad runner. I saw that. Trump is actually considering rallies in Aurora and Springfield. Yeah. Oh, okay. All right. He's okay. All right. Hey, I'm all for this idea. I mean, look, and I get it, and you know, and I'm going to say something. I'm not trying to pick on him or necessarily disagree with him. Christian Watson's right. Okay, we're focusing on the eat the cats thing quite a bit, but the eat the cats thing opens the door to a discussion about the effects of unfettered illegal immigration and unfettered immigration, like what we're doing with the Haitians in Springfield. Okay, then let's take it the next step. We've got the door open for the conversation. Let Trump go there and have the conversation. It may be an imperfect conversation. It may not be as eloquent as you like. It may not be a lot of different things. But talk about bringing a spotlight to it. Trump would have the potential to do that. Whereas almost no other politician in America would even touch the subject. Trump will go after the thing. Anyway, let's get back to the clip, and then we'll move on to something else here.
Without knowing who they are, we don't even know where they come from. As of last week, I was told by Tom Homan, we had 168 countries represented over the last 12 months. In other words, people came in illegally from 168 different countries. Most people don't know there's that many countries. There's more than that in the world. We'll know them all pretty soon, I'm sure.
So there you go. That's the first clip. And that one's pretty good. This next one's just as good, a little shorter, but man, does this one take on something that if I were Trump, there's another thing I'd be, and again, it's real easy for me to sit here and say, if I were Trump, I'd do this. Well, first of all, I'm not Trump, quite obviously. And I'm not the candidate. But I do think every time, oh yeah, very somber. For me, I would use the word serious. I'm not saying you're wrong, but I take it serious. And by the way, that background with the trees and the ocean, look, California might have a lot of problems, but I ain't going to lie. California is still one of the most beautiful states in America. For all her problems, California is naturally one of the prettiest states in this country. Absolutely. This next clip, the statistic he's going to bring up, I would hammer this home for the next 50 days. And if you're wondering what I'm talking about, listen to this.
Bigger scandal than this. We have, under this administration, 325,000 migrant children are missing. 325,000. In other words, take your biggest stadium in California and you could fill it up 5 or 6 times. Those are all missing children. Many of them are dead. Many of them are sex slaves and slaves of different nature.
Hammer that home. Hammer it home. Just do it. Just absolutely hit them with it. Because, yeah, that neutralizes Kamala's argument about how much she cares. Well, if she cares so much, how come you let 325,000 kids into this country and you can't tell anybody where they're at? We don't even have any idea. And this in the end is one of the things that ought to be discussed. It highlights the vast cultural difference in how ill-equipped they are to assimilate to our system, or even if they have the desire to. And that's the bigger one. I mean, I was thinking about this morning. There have been periods in the history of the United States, particularly in the 20th century, where decades went by and we never let a soul immigrate to this country. I mean, we talk about the term lockdown the border. Well, there was a period that was locked down, like I want to say a good 40-year stretch from like the 19 teens, maybe up into like the 50s or the early 60s. We didn't let anybody in this country. We didn't let anybody immigrate over here. What did that allow to happen? The immigrants who had arrived, it gave them the chance to assimilate to American culture. Now we're assimilating to whatever culture happens to be running around in the U.S. There is a distinctly American culture. And look, I have not an objection one to anybody who wants to come to this country for a better life. Glad to have you. But if you come here, I just ask the following, much like many of my fellow citizens. Please obey our laws. Please respect our property. Try to learn our language. And we'll do everything we can to help you if it's in our power to do it. TBA over on Rumble says we had to allow time for all the immigrants who came here in the early 1900s to assimilate for 3 or 4 generations. That's absolutely true. And there's nothing wrong with that, by the way. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. A culture, I mean, lay aside the question of nation, okay? Let's just lay that aside for a second. A culture, in this case, the American culture, has got to have time that if people are going to come here, that's fine. Let them come here. But we got to have some time to let those people kind of acclimate to being American. And there's not a thing in the world wrong with that. Yeah. I mean, I don't always get the chance to listen to Michael Savage, but I think I know the kind of comments you're referring to. Yeah. Blocked ad runner over on Rumble says, speak English and go to work. Yeah. Really? And this is TBA, you're asking a really great question. Isn't it our country? Don't we get to lay out the rules for immigration? Exactly. You know what? That question goes to the heart of the argument right now between the governed and the American government. And I think Springfield is the microcosm and the flashpoint for the whole argument. You have a town of 60,000 people in Springfield, Ohio. I mean, not that I've been up there in a real long time, but if I had to guess, Springfield, Ohio is probably not much unlike my hometown. Tight-knit neighborhoods, little communities, local traditions, local customs, everything else. The federal government injected 20,000 people into that area in the space of 4 years that have no idea of the language, no idea of the customs, no understanding of the laws, no understanding of the traditions, and just injected 2 different cultures into the same place at the same time. And one culture does not have any respect for the other. None. And the results coming out of Springfield are absolutely catastrophic. And the people of Springfield, Ohio, much like all around this country where this sort of thing is happening, are looking at the federal government going, excuse me, we're the citizens of the United States, not them. Why are you more concerned about them than you are us? And I'm sorry, that's a perfectly legitimate question. Perfectly legitimate. So, a jar of black ants, a jar of red ants, shake vigorously and see what happens. Yeah, I know how that analogy ends, and it doesn't end well, TBA. You're absolutely right. So, there you go. All right, real quick, I'm going to forego the last night in Vegas. But, by the way, we have found, it's been found who has helped coaching Kamala Harris for her media appearances. And I don't know, guys, the Harris campaign might want to rethink this. Like I say, I think we found who's helping her out. Oh yeah, this is a good point. Jason Aldean was very prophetic when he put that song out. But we found Kamala Harris's media appearances coach. And like I said, I don't know if the Harris campaign really ought not rethink this strategy. With that, here's an example of what Kamala's being taught.
So, okay, like right now, for example, the Haitians need to come to America. But some people are all, what about the strain on our resources? But it's like when I had this garden party for my father's birthday, right? I said RSVP because it was a sit-down dinner. But people came that did not RSVP. So I was totally bugging. I had to haul ass to the kitchen, redistribute the food, squish in extra place settings. But by the end of the day, it was the more the merrier. And so if the government could just get to the kitchen, rearrange some things, we could certainly party with the Haitians. And in conclusion, may I please remind you that it does not say RSVP on the Statue of Liberty. Thank you very much. So.
Yeah, I don't know, guys. I think that this media coach that they've hired over the Harris campaign to help Kamala out, yeah. Yeah. In more ways than one is the Kamala Harris campaign clueless. Yeah. WWG1 says she went to college for an MRS degree. I knew a lot of girls that went to college to get an MRS degree. Thank you very much. Yeah, I knew a lot of them back in the day. Way back in the day. All right. The interview with WPVI out of Philadelphia. I mean, I'm going to drop this in chat because it's got the whole 11-minute interview. Oh, what is an MRS degree? Well, it's kind of a joke. It's a Mrs. degree. In other words, they went to college to get married. We used to call it an MRS degree. Mrs., you got your BS degree and Mrs. fill in the blank. That's all it meant. Just a bad attempt at a joke. I'm going to go ahead and drop this in chat for your guys' perusal. It has the whole 11-minute interview and excerpts from it that are written down. Guys, we played parts of this last night for Chatting on the Porch. This is her first interview with a local TV reporter by herself after 50-something days. And look, I know what some people who are going to view this live stream are going to say. Well, you're just bashing on her because she's the Democrat. She's run against Trump. Look, I don't agree with her on anything. This has nothing to do with that. This has to do with she can't communicate. Either can't or won't. And I'm just of the opinion she can't. She just can't do it. The very thing Democrats were scared to death of 18 months ago when they considered dropping her off the ticket is now showing up. And it's showing up because sooner or later, she has to do interviews like this. She does. She has to do interviews like this if she's going to run for president. She has to do them. The problem is she can't do them. Not that she can't schedule them, not that she can't sit down for them. When I say she can't do them, she cannot answer questions effectively without opening herself up to criticism, examination, and in the end, appropriate ridicule. I mean, if you want to know what I'm talking about here, let's just go straight to it. Again, I'm not going to play the whole 11-minute interview. I'll let you guys watch it on your own. But, I mean, dear, I think you're absolutely right. Just turn the sound off and watch her trying to talk. You don't even have to listen to her. You can see it. She can't answer the questions. Exclusive Action News interview. Kamala Harris discusses economy, guns, and more. Brian Taff is the anchor for WPVI. Okay, so let's go into this just a little bit. On the economy, what are one or two specific things that you have in mind for that? Brian Taff asked, quote, from Kamala Harris. Well, when I'm talking about building an opportunity economy, it's very much a mind of investing in the ambitions and the aspirations of incredible work ethic of the American, people, and creating opportunity for people, for example, to start a small business, she said. So my opportunity economy plan includes giving startups a $50,000 tax deduction to, start their small businesses. It used to be 5,000, and well, nobody can start a small business with $5,000. Harris continued. So, really, opportunity economy means look, we don't have enough housing in America. We have a housing supply shortage, and that means, in particular, for many younger people, the that thing, the American dream is elusive. It's not actually attainable, Harris said. So to help people, we just want to get their foot in the door, literally. And so giving them first-time home buyer, assistance, a $25,000 down payment. Now, quite obviously, I'm being very tongue-in-cheek with how I'm reading the quote. But it's not that far off. I mean, yeah, the Miss Teen South Carolina 2007 could give a more articulate answer. All right, now getting a little bit more serious. On guns in America. Brian asked Harris where she draws the line in America on gun ownership. I am a gun owner, and Tim Walls, my running mate, is also a gun owner, which, by the way, I have a question that I think I really want a reporter to ask her. What kind of gun do you own? The next time she drops that I own a gun, I want the reporter to ask her, almost snap back at her. Okay, what kind of gun? Yeah, what kind of gun? Do you own a rifle? Do you own a handgun? Oh, I own a handgun. Okay, what kind of handgun? Who's the make and model? Yeah, I think that's a reasonable question. And see what kind of answer. Yeah, see what kind of answer she gives. She owns a JK-47. Well, there you go. Z Highness has the answer for us, guys. Yeah. 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 Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Kamala. Yeah. And she owns a gun. Well, she gets to own a gun. What about those poor people? Blocked Ad Runner says, did she get a permit and pass the background check? Good question. Anyway, back to her answer about guns. We're not taking anyone's guns away. I support the Second Amendment. I support reasonable gun safety laws. I feel very strongly that is consistent with the Second Amendment and your right to own a gun. To also say we need an assault weapons ban. They're literally tools of war. Say we need universal background checks. The majority of NRA owners support that. Really? Really? Why? How do you know they support that? It's just reasonable. You might want to know. So I have a question. We need an assault weapons ban. They're literally tools of war. I have a question. In the 18th century, would a flint-loaded musket, be considered a weapon of war? And if so, would Kamala Harris have tried to ban flint muskets back in the 18th century? Just saying. On reaching undecided voters. Okay. Brian Toff also asked the vice president how she plans to reach voters who are on the fence heading into November. And this is Kamala Harris's answer. I, based on experience and a lived experience, know in my heart, I know in my soul, I know that the vast majority of us as Americans have so much more in common than what separates us. And I also believe that I am accurate in knowing that most Americans want a leader that brings us together as Americans and not someone who professes to be a leader who is trying to have us point our fingers at each other, Harris said. Nothing. This woman is saying absolutely nothing. Oh my God, she's just awful. And again, I'm not saying that she's awful because of her policy position. She's awful. She just can't speak. I mean, yeah, she would. I agree with you, because that could be a weapon of war. It could. Just absolutely crazy. Just crazy. Well, and by the way, the comments section, I guess, at WPVI from people who saw the interview, oh my God, she got roasted. Look at this. Am I wrong, or did she give the exact same answers as she did in the debate? Did she just repeat the whole debate, laughing my fucking ass off? She grew up where people were proud of their lawn. She's back to the same old Kamala. This woman is a master at talking and saying nothing. After this interview, I do believe that ABC gave her the questions in advance. Incredible. She would not make it past the first round of interviews in corporate America for a middle management position. That's absolutely true. A barren wasteland. If ABC could turn off the comments without losing even more credibility. God. Wow. I'm telling you guys. Oh, she's getting roasted. Absolutely roasted alive for this thing. As well she should. Okay, I tell you what. Let's do some HodgePodge stew. And hang on a minute. Gypsy sent me something that she sent me a late submission. Oh, yeah. Okay. I'll put this up here. Give me a second, folks. Give me one moment here. Sorry about that. Okay. One more. Yeah, this was sent to me by Gypsy over on Twitter. And I'm going to back out. Danger presented by Ohio. The red is the state of Ohio. States surrounding are in that orange are invasion anytime. Kind of this burnt orange, you are not safe. Enough time. The yellow is enough time for you to get out. And the gray is the illusion of safety. So, oh my goodness, Ruben, you just dropped something up here that definitely, for those of you who are lovers of the Bard, the legendary William Shakespeare, consider the following. Kamala is but a poor shadow, is a walking shadow, a poor player that struts and frets her hour on the stage and is heard from no more. She is a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, and signifies nothing. Ruben? Bravo. I want to go back to that map real quick. Yeah, this is the danger presented by Ohio. Look at that. That is just, yeah. Some people would call that tongue in cheek. I would argue that is a very accurate representation of where we are. So, Gypsy, thank you, dear. That's a good one. That is a good one. Okay, let us shift gears for a little bit of HodgePodge stew in the remaining time I've got. And I've got to, unfortunately, I've got to do some things. So we're going to be here about another 15 minutes or so, but I want to get a couple things in because I got a phone call to make and I got to do some things with family. So, there was a line the other night during the debate where Kamala said that, Donald Trump has no respect around the world. And if it weren't for her and Joe Biden, and this next part I'm kind of paraphrasing, but it's true. The implication is being that if it weren't for her and Joe Biden, they'd have no respect on the world stage. Okay. So that sets up our first thing for HodgePodge Stew. Now, for those of you who've never been here before, HodgePodge Stew is that section of the show where we talk about stories that maybe aren't top of the list on the internet, but they kind of important. So remember, Kamala says that Donald Trump has no respect around the world. Well, these ministers from Poland have a message for the supposedly respected people like Anthony Blinken and Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. They're the Polish representatives to the European Parliament. Folks, check this out.
Blinken, go home. Go home as soon as possible. Get lost. Get lost. We don't want you here. We don't want Polish people paying and dying for your wars. Thank you very much.
TBA over on Rumble says the guy on the left is on the side of the screen is trying hard not to laugh. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it always cracks me up when Joe Biden or Kamala Harris or Tony Blinken or anybody else says, "Oh, yeah, thank God we're here now because we're being, we finally got some, we're reestablishing alliances and we're trying to engage again in the world. And thank God we're not Donald Trump." Yeah, and the world's looking at you going, "Get lost. Go away." And frankly, given what's now starting to happen, you begin to understand why. Now, this next subject gets a little bit serious, but it definitely ought to be paid attention to because, man, Donald Trump's been saying for the longest time, we're headed for World War III if we're not careful here. Given what's starting to creep out now in the news and given the response of the Russians to it, Trump's going to be proven right. And the tragedy of it is he'll be proven right. And a lot of people might wind up getting killed. And if you're wondering what I'm talking about, check this out. From Politico.com, White House finalizing plans to expand where Ukraine can hit inside of Russia. The talks have been closely held among a small number of officials inside the White House. Article by Aaron Banco, Joe Gould, and Paul McClary. We've got the following. The White House is finalizing a plan to ease some restrictions on how Ukraine can use U.S.-donated weapons and better protect itself from Russian missiles, according to a Western official and two other people familiar with the discussions. The talks have been closely held among a small group of officials inside the White House. One of the people involved in the debate said, all were granted anonymity because they were not authorized to speak publicly about the conversations. The details of the plan are still coming together, but officials in Washington, D.C., London, and Kiev have in recent days discussed expanding the area inside Russia that Ukraine can hit with an American and British-made weapons. Now, folks, let me read that part again in case you didn't catch it. Discussions about expanding the area inside Russia that Ukraine can hit with American and British-made weapons. They've also discussed how to prevent additional cross-border attacks by Russia, including the U.S. agreeing to allow Ukraine to use UK long-range missiles that contain American parts to strike inside Russia. The current conversations between Washington and Kiev mark a significant change in tenor from the ones the two countries held earlier this summer. It signals the Biden administration may be ready to finally agree to Kiev's request to enable Ukraine's military to more forcefully defend itself and make more aggressive moves inside Russia. The National Security Council declined to comment. Folks, I am not being hyperbolic with what I'm about to say next. If we, the United States government and the British, are stupid enough to let Vladimir Zelensky launch missiles inside of Russia, we're asking for it. Whatever happens next, we asked for it. And frankly, you would understand why. Matter of fact, I've got a comment here from the Russian ambassador to the United Nations, and I think people ought to hear this because the Russians aren't messing around on this one. Check this out.
Неонацистский режим давно бьет по нашей территории, за пределами зоны боевых действий, устраивает теракты в отношении мирного населения и гражданской инфраструктуры нашей страны. Однако подобное потенциально...
Oh, wait a minute. I thought that was coming with a translation. Hang on.
Мы, разумеется,
nope, apparently not. But translated, quote, if the decision to lift restrictions is made, it will mean war between NATO countries and Russia. Folks, the Russians aren't messing around with this. And frankly, look, I don't want to see it happen. I'm not saying what the Russians would be doing would be right. I'm not saying they'd be wrong. But you can't sit there and say that you wouldn't look at it and go, yeah. Remember, Russia is a nation that over the past 2 centuries has been invaded by 2 different Western European powers. The whole reason that they wanted a buffer zone between themselves and Western Europe is to prevent what's happening now. They don't want armaments up on their border. They have lost multi-millions of people over the decades and over the wars and over the years. And now we're talking about letting that maniac, Vladimir Zelensky, be able to launch missiles inside of Russia. Our missiles. British missiles. I'm telling you, we are right on the edge of a freaking world war. And the worst part is our government is letting it happen. WWG1 says, U.S. weapons, U.S. personnel to operate them, we'd be doing a first strike on Russia. Yeah. Yeah. So, and you know what our response to it is? Our leaders, Keir Starmer from Great Britain and Biden, brush off Putin's threat of war. Unbelievable. When asked what he made of Putin saying such an act would put NATO's countries at war with Russia, the U.S. president told reporters, I don't think much of Vladimir Putin. God. Speaking after the meeting, Starmer said no final decision had been taken on Storm Shadow missiles, and will obviously pick up again and UNGA in just a few days with a wider group of individuals. These people are going to get multi-millions killed. They're going to get people killed. People are going to die because of these fools. All right. A little bit of good news by way of HodgePodge stew. Did you guys see this story? This is out of the state of Pennsylvania, and actually, if it remains in effect all the way through November, is good news as far as election integrity. Pennsylvania Supreme Court rules that mail-in ballots must have correct date in order to be counted. Article by Natalia Mittelstadt, we've got the following. The Pennsylvania Supreme Court overturned a lower court decision on Friday, ruling that mail ballots must have correct date on them to be counted. Last month, a lower court ruled that the Commonwealth cannot throw out mail-in ballots just because they have incorrect handwritten dates on the envelopes. The decision was tossed out by Pennsylvania's highest court on Friday after the Republican National Committee and the Pennsylvania GOP appealed, arguing that not all the counties were included as plaintiffs in the original lawsuit. The ruling was made on jurisdictional grounds, not the merits of the case. The Commonwealth Court lacked subject matter jurisdiction to review the matter, given the failure to name the county boards of elections of all 67 counties, the court wrote in its order on Friday. The ACLU and the Public Interest Law Center argued the case on behalf of the voting rights groups, claiming that the requirement to have a correct date violates state constitution. So, there you go. Some good news with regard to the election, and frankly, we could use it at this point. All right, what else have we got out here? Oh yeah. This one we ought to talk about for sure. So apparently a report is about to come out in the next few days about the failures of the Secret Service and the FBI with regard to the attempted assassination of former President Trump in Pennsylvania. And I think this comment is floating around, and it's kind of shocking because this is coming from Dick Blumenthal, which one of our regulars here on the Electronic Front Porch up in Connecticut, she's got a lot of familiarity with Dirty Dick Blumenthal. But apparently, he had just walked out of a hearing, and his response to some of what he heard in that hearing apparently was so bad it even shocked this partisan Democrat. Check it out.
I think the American people are going to be shocked, astonished, and appalled by what we will report to them about the failures by the Secret Service in this assassination attempt of the former president. But I think they also ought to be appalled and astonished by the failure of the Department of Homeland Security to be more forthcoming, to be as candid and frank as it should be to them.
All right, I'm going to stop it there. The volume on it is not really good, but for your all's consideration, I dropped the link on both chats, and like I say, I don't know what he heard in that hearing, but man, it must have been bad. Must have been bad indeed. Okay, I tell you what, it's about 12:30, and y'all have got things to do, and so do I. So we're going to go ahead and bring this train into the station. I want to thank you guys so much for being here for Front Porch Brunch this Saturday. We're going to be back Monday evening, 7:30, catching up on some more news. So now it's the weekend, okay? I want you guys to go have fun. I want you to spend time with your families. Go touch grass, because I'm going to try and do some of that, okay? Like I said, tell your families that you love them. Grill some hot dogs, grill some hamburgers, watch a little football, drink a beverage if you are so persuaded to do so. Don't hug a tree. I said touch grass, TBA. I didn't say hug a tree. Anyway, you guys are totally awesome. I absolutely love you. Hang on. Got choked up there for a second. Anyway, you guys have fun. And, like I say, tell your family that you love them. Do what you need to do to decompress from this stuff. I'm going to do my best to decompress from this stuff. And I love you guys. We'll see you Monday night at 7:30. And as we leave, as always, remember the words of that great American philosopher, Tom T. Hall, when he said, "It's faster horses, younger lovers, older whiskey, and more money." See you guys Monday night at 7:30. Have a great weekend.